Welcome to Arcanum and Lore, Episode 9, Blow the Fuse. This episode features creative works by Bridget Cooley, Charles Darnell, Spartacus Anagnosterus, William David, Rod Carlos Rodriguez, Tom Woodruff, Joe Reyes Boytel, Paul Oldfield, spoken word by Jeff Pettigrew, Ed Gonzalez, and Jeff Pettigrew. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy the show. Who Steals Your Eyes and Time by Tom Woodruff. You only have one life. You only have two eyes. How much can you watch on TV, smartphone, computer, while dragging with tired eyes, visually distracted via advertising? Marketing relies upon your consuming, but consumption is a disease. Your waistline increases with sedentary practices. Your tired eyes can no longer stare at emptiness. Scripted by professionals. Cinemas sans visitors. While quality TV and miniseries steal time and attention. The outside world awaits, but you are watching a new Netflix. The great outdoors, sun and moon, trees and stars must wait. One more episode with a sudden death cliffhanger. Requiem for a Friend by William David. A shoreline stretch overlooking Laguna Madre. She stands alone, watching untamed waves as they roar and beat. The very same waves caress the Texas coast. It is a morbid yet peaceful shore. The tides glitter and clash in the moonlight. Off in tranquil nearing seagulls pass as the flock continues patrolling the glistening shore. On the other side of the lagoon thrives South Padre, an eternal city. A vain city of endless revolts, of light and dark, but neither really wins. They only revolve and coexist. The voice of the lagoon is a ceaseless sedative. Emerald waves invite the soul to roam forever. For whatever comes, she will never belong to anyone other than herself. Only a memoir is left of a lost noun, a verb surviving in a dead language. An astonishing moon appears as night rebuilds itself. Luna, the quiet mystery, gives more than it takes. Starlit gleam blankets the new clairvoyant sky. A full moon shows itself slowly gliding, slowly climbing towards the center of the sky as to reward the resilient. Heavy-Handed by Joe Reyes Boytel. Miss Green insists I will never learn cursive, that my hand will not conform, the fat cushion of my palm dragging across the newsprint. My HB pencil's the secret of small drawings. It's how I learned shading all the pads of my fingertips clothed in iridescent kohl. But handwritten words with their rounded joints should be clear. Erasing makes it all worse. But handwritten words with their rounded joints should be clear. Erasing makes it all worse. Miss Green threatens me. She says I'll never be allowed to write with the ballpoint pens if I can't lose the sluggishness and lift my hands. And so I become this crooked thing, my arm in an awkward arch, my head at an angle, my fingers tight around the pencil. Writing over and over again. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, until I am all hand and all hurt, until my hand begs that I stop. I take pages and pencils home with me. Trying again and again, each time praying the words overwritten mush are transformed into one elegant spiral of graphite dark as night encircling the brilliant stars. Sunlight in America by Rod Carlos Rodriguez. Morning light has soared my sky and sanctified, healing from pyres of fear. Love so bright my freedom shakes, it rises from chains broken. To bandage and mend my bleeding wrists, my voice sings even as the night slowly fades from bullets that silence no more. Always, always, we will keep fighting against manifest destiny, against white privilege and the raping of culture, of language. Lives we're losing to COVID, police brutality, racial hatred will drive us forward. Now rising up for lost voices, like a George Floyd, a John Lewis, a Breonna Taylor. Mother Earth's smile glimmers in hopeful oceans turned aquamarine, viridian. We gasp the air, finally free of jesters, no longer laughing. We must always light our paths, varied and diverse, to dispel baleful shadows, embrace unity, and toss all those clowns into pits of their own filth. Rise, rise, rise! Our voices are free. May it ever, ever be. The longest ride home. I sit at the wheel, steady and solid beneath my fingers. The sweet smell of the city at night blows past the open window. The events of the evening, vivid and all too real, make their way to mind. The woman beside me sighs heavily, deeply. She massages the front of her neck, vibrant, silky skin, under the fluorescence blue fire. I try to speak, but sound is a luxury I cannot afford, as the price is too high. Those events again continue to smolder behind my eyes. She thinks them too. The look of infinite thought envelops her. We do not speak. The thoughts dance around us, a silent melody. As home appears, two minds tangle in the same thought, shuffle around the table, cherry wood and short, upon which sits two things, a set of keys and the truth. We shall not speak of this again. Bug Bites by Bridget Cooley. A pantoum, kind of. I'm sorry that after all these years, most of my poems are still about you. I have never liked smoking, but the first time we had sex, you asked for a cigarette after, and it made me feel special, so I bought a pack. I have never been a smoker. Instead, I pick at my skin and call the wounds bug bites later. I bought a pack of ciders today, ran my fingers along the bottlenecks, hoping they'd make a sound. My doctor says my bed should be for sex and sleep only, so I guess I will be lonely tonight, the way you run your fingers along my lips and grin at the sound that follows. That is what I'll dream about. Tonight I am lonely. My mother said he was hanging by a thread when they found him, a nightmare I cannot outrun. Last night I draped my legs across your chest after sex. You asked if I still have the pictures I let my mascara run. I'm sorry that after all these years, he is still here. Tribute to Stephanos, Tsitsipas, and to Every Beloved One by Spartacus and Ignosterus. Lifting trophies and celebrating wins is something, but not everything. 5 minutes before entering the court, my beloved grandmother lost her battle with life. Instagram, Stephanos Tsitsipas. I walked to get back to my house on a sunny Sunday afternoon, tired after a long day. I see the bus stop, at which a man had shot a teenager waiting for the bus. No one waits for the bus now. I turn into another road in which a tree smiles with its white petals. I look the news on my mobile. The French Open men's final winner is going to be decided in the 5th set. When I come back to my house, the game is over. Djokovic is looking proudly at his trophy, now part of the history. He knew how to expect the unexpected. He refused to give up. After 2 lost sets, he came back as a different player. I watched the best moments of the game. I watched the rhythm of the players, their shots, shouts, and movements. Tsitsipas will be my favorite tennis player, even if only as the winner of a 2-set game. Marcus Aurelius says that it is not in feeling, but in action that the good of a rational social creature lies. Every one of the tennis players is a picture of a conductor that does not let the tennis ball with the magical wand to touch and kiss the earth. How fascinating the posture of the tennis players with their feet floating on the court pitch. 2 snippers using the same bullet, as if trying to split the time of memory in the middle. 2 babies holding the earth with their hands to protect it from its past. 2 friends consoling each other after a difficult day of exams. I look the Instagram account of Tsitsipas. I can see connections of my own life. When sorrow finds us, it interrupts our voice with a deeper one. My own grandmother would walk me to the school a long time before she had lost her voice, and could not describe how badly she was maltreated at the hands of a stranger in a care home. In the school assembly, the teacher of maths tells to the students what he has learnt from his 2 biggest failures in life. Modern society is obsessed with success. Failure was my best teacher in life. I remember Paris during the school trip, Louvre Museum, Eiffel Tower, the Mongolian statue, the fat man naked, next to Notre Dame, a modern Javert Chassé, another Jean Valjean, the villain, the hero, and the victim. My other grandmother would smile when she would discover with her sparkling blue eyes that I walked on the top of the rising bread dough and that my baby footprints were on the top of each bread. The voice of the commentator is heard loudly. How brave, well done, so clever, so good, a monster effort. A Babylon of feelings, of people speaking together the same language, but meaning other things. The picture of the photographer in the newspaper with Djokovic consoling Tsitsipas is a labyrinth of emotions in which the athletes reveal themselves. All Hobos Now by Charles Darnell. We watch for the sandwich man, come round slow, head swivel looking for cops. Doing God's work is good for handcuffs here. We keep a lookout and wave him on if it ain't safe. It's okay, we are all hobos now, gloves passed each Christmas by the dark lady, no arrests for that, not yet. We used to be the homeless, but now we have our bridge, and we have each other, laying our coats on one another while we shiver in our sleep. And we are all hobos now. We are all hobos now, gone back to the old days, but the rails have rusted and we keep our thumbs in our pockets. We are restless with nowhere to go, and we are all hobos now. New Now is Now Flux by Ed Gonzalez. We will never know the end result of 2020 and 2021, with worldwide implications, with the death doubling and tripling. All the while government is flaying our rights wide open and unprotected, as our capital was on January 6th. laid out as a tighter grip by creating a wider rift between the races, churches and has the people chasing our tails and ourselves as the masses seem not to see 9/11 all over again, this time from our own, as the masked begin to turn the corner on the virus only to run into the variant Delta. Alas, but now armed now with a hypodermic spear able to spray booster directly onto our bloodstream, we wade into the future flux for now. We will never truly know the end result. Momentary Epiphanies by Tom Woodruff. Now is too late. I have failed again, both Zen and existentialism. First thought equals best thought, said the beatific beats, but even they edited their greatest hits. Every line I steal from some greater truth, every word purloined from the great silence, is meant to mirror this holy moment that has disappeared again somehow. If I am a mirror to your mind, if I sing birdsong for golden emperors, it is only in my little lifetime. This can be ignored so adequately. Thank you for hearing me. Fail again to meet the moment, to hear it sing. Floyd. Floyd was born not too long ago in a field of blooming sunflowers. The way of his birth was all too common, and for the first of his 16 years, common described him well. It was in the same field as of his birth, when on a walk in the dead of night, Floyd happened upon that moment, the single point when destiny clearly states, "Welcome to manhood, let childhood fade away." Having never known his father and always receiving a resounding smack whenever he asked of him, Floyd could not pull curiosity from his anxious mind. On this night, in the midst of blooming vision, a beginning to an answer came to him, and as minutes became hours, he watched with astonished horror those things he would never forget. The next morning found Floyd walking, miles from home behind him, with a leather sack filled with memories strapped to his back as a barrier between his childhood and his future. He did not know where he was going, nor did it concern him much, only that it would lead to an answer, to which his leather shoes would carry all the weight and miles of the journey. Town came just in time for lunch, or so his empty stomach thought, but eating was not his concern now. He pushed the thought from his mind and continued down the dusty road. Halfway down the dirt-maned street, something caught his eye. The people gave him a wide berth, eyeing him not as a child as before, but as what he was now. The bar looked as though a wind, wisp, or gale would topple it, and the drunkards looked much the same. Even at this early hour, the saloon was packed. It was the stairs he wanted, as he strode from the entrance, across the creaking wooden planks, among the rickety tables and chairs, a challenge unfinished. The breath of the drunken man above him, looming like a great ogre of whiskey, and the half-curled lips of a smile told Floyd this man was dangerous. The long knife in his hand said the same. He moved aside to let the ogre pass, but it was only the smile that went away. The rest of the hulking man with whiskey breath shuffled like a gelatinous mold to block Floyd's way again. The ogre muttered something gibberish, spittle flying in arching streams amongst the frozen patrons, meant for Floyd, but intended for all within the bar to hear. Floyd smiled inwardly, knowing that today this man was beyond himself, and that the power of his conviction would show all the dregs around him what it truly meant to want something. The purse of coins on his belt weighed heavy and constant, reminding him of his want and the barbarous mass between him and it. Not even Floyd himself saw it, too fast for the eye to register, his balled fist connecting with the ogre's Neanderthal jaw, sending him falling woodward. The tables split under the crash, splintering a litter around the unconscious ogre, clearing a path through the forest of drunks, too shocked to do much else. Perhaps this boy was dangerous. Floyd smiled at the men around him and continued on to the staircase near the back. 2 and 3 at a time he climbed until he stood at the apex of doors and the hollow and virgin hallway before him. His mother's door was open, as it always was in daylight, and the soft grunting and creaking played on his mind like a carousel, spinning the world around. Floyd stood in the doorway, watching his mother work, and the clumsy movements of a worker fresh in from the factory only a mile or 2 downriver. When the worker finished, he stood without looking at Floyd or his mother, pulled his ankled trousers wastward, dropped the handful of coins on the bedside, and made for the door. He smiled at Floyd as he passed him by, disappearing down the hall and stairs, leaving Floyd to gaze at the woman on the bed, the half-broken, half-contented glint of sweat on his mother's back. Her expression didn't change as he approached, setting the pouch unopened on the bedside as he assumed was customary. Floyd began to undress in front of his mother and stood naked with door open before her. Thoughts of the previous evening flooded his young and excited mind, and as he pleasured his mother and she returned it, a stronger and more vivid realization came to him. I am my father. Nuclear by Mike Oldfield. Standing on the edge of the crater, like the prophets once said, and the ashes are all cold now, no more bullets, and the embers are dead. Whispers in the air tell the tales of the brothers gone, desolation, devastation, what a mess we made when it all went wrong. Watching from the edge of the circus, for the games to begin, gladiators draw their swords, form their ranks for Armageddon. I'm nuclear, I'm wild, I'm breaking up inside, a heart of broken glass, defiled deep inside the abandoned child. Standing on the edge of the underworld, looking at the abyss, and I'm hoping for some miracle to break out, to escape from all this. Whispers in the air tell the tale of a life that's gone. Desolation, devastation, what a mess we made when it all went wrong. I'm nuclear, I'm wild, I'm breaking up inside, a heart of broken glass, defiled deep inside the abandoned child. I'm nuclear, I'm wild, I'm breaking up inside, a heart of broken glass, defiled deep inside the abandoned child, deep inside the abandoned child. This episode featured creative works by Bridget Cooley, Charles Darnell, Spartacus Anagnosterus, William David, Rod Carlos Rodriguez, Tom Woodrow, Joe Reyes Boytel, Paul Oldfield, spoken word by Jeff Pettigrew, Ed Gonzalez, and Jeff Pettigrew. Until next time, thank you for joining us.